Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking the Detroit Lions. I was reading an article earlier today and it was based around how quickly can this Lions team win a Super Bowl. What is the reasonable time frame that they can make a deep playoff run and eventually get that Super Bowl ring? Personally, after seeing this team start 1-6 and finish the year off with an impressive win on the road at Green Bay, they had impressive wins throughout the entire second half of the season that started and ended against the Green Bay Packers with Mr. Back-to-back MVP in Aaron Rodgers. I think it's going to happen as soon as next year. This team, Brad Holmes, they've done a phenomenal job through the draft, through free agency, through trades. They're going to focus primarily on the defense as they should. Their offense was top 5. Jared Goff looked more than capable. I think Jamal Williams will be brought back. I think DJ Chark will be brought back. But it's going to start on that defensive side. And we really saw some very impressive football games from this Lions defense. Start off with Green Bay. Kirby Joseph getting 2 red zone interceptions against Mr. AR-12. One against Chicago the following week. Got an impressive road victory against the New York Giants to kick off a 3-game winning streak. Unfortunately, Buffalo on Thanksgiving, they got the better of them. That was a very close game though. What did Detroit do? They bounced back very impressively with a dominant performance against another playoff team in the Jacksonville Jaguars. They won 40-14. It was 4 beautiful quarters, 4 perfect quarters, if we're being quite frank here. But before we get any further into today's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit the like button, hit that sub button. I post daily NFL content and I post Lions videos a bunch. So let's try and get this video to 1,000 likes. That would be absolutely awesome. So following that Jacksonville win, they won another game against a playoff team in the Minnesota Vikings, 34-23. They followed that up against a team that almost made the playoffs on the road in the New York Jets with one of the best defenses in the National Football League. Now that Carolina game was a little bit of a hiccup, but they had another perfect 4 quarters against the Chicago Bears, ended up winning that 41-10, and like I mentioned earlier, they finished it off with a very impressive road victory to kick the Green Bay Packers out of playoff contention. Now, when we take a look at this defense, they had a bunch of players step up, and a lot of these cats are extremely young. Most notably, Aiden Hutchinson, 9.5 sacks. He wasn't alone. Let's just talk about the pressures, all right? The team had 39 total sacks. That is a 30% increase from the season before, and the Lions actually, at the end of the year, they finished in top 10 pressure rate. From week 9 and beyond, the Lions produced the 6th most sacks in the NFL with 28. Now, like I said, there were some hiccups in the road, mainly with the run defense. Carolina, they ran for over 300 yards. Detroit, at the end of the season, they allowed the 4th highest amount of rushing yards in the league. They gave up the 3rd highest yards per carry, and they also allowed the 2nd highest first down percentage on running plays. So they're getting to the quarterback. They had some trouble stopping the run, but as far as the passing game goes, they did more than enough. And there's some enticing players on this team outside of Aiden Hutchinson. We saw guys like Malcolm Rodriguez in his rookie season step up. Kirby Joseph had a beautiful year with 4 total interceptions. Aiden Hutchinson also had 3 picks, which is crazy because he had never had an interception in his entire college career before then. We saw young cats step up. James Houston finished the year off with 8 sacks, and he only played 7 games. He broke NFL history. It was crazy. And this guy was picked at the end of the draft just about. So I read a mock draft today, and they had a cornerback with the 6th pick, and with the 18th pick, they had a defensive tackle to help figure out that run defense. I love it. I absolutely love it. We've been saying on this channel for weeks and weeks and weeks, even when the season was going, that Detroit's probably going to focus heavily on defense. There's some enticing guys out there in free agency. I've seen, Jamal Dean, my Packer, Jaron Reed. He was a very big bright spot for us. He's entering free agency. In the past 3 years alone, he's had a total of 29 quarterback hits and 58 pressures. But the best part is he hasn't missed a single game in that span. He could be a great mentor for Aiden Hutchinson, Jeff Pascal. He could be a nice signing. Like I said, Jamal Dean, help with the cornerback situation. Speaking of the cornerback situation, I'm not giving up All right. I know that you have a former third pick in the draft, Jeff Okudah from Ohio State. First 2 years in the league, he suffered with injuries. Couldn't get anything going. And I know there was a bunch of inconsistencies this year. Long term, I still feel very good. You also have guys like Alex Anzalone. He's going to be on my list. He's heavily circled for Detroit bringing him back. He was a great player for him this year. Consistency is everything in the National Football League. He played all 17 games. He finished with a total of 125 tackles. Entering the prime of his career, I anticipate he will definitely be back. Now, in the draft on the offensive side, we already talked about Jamal Williams. You got to bring him back. You got to bring him back. And the best part is with him, even though he broke franchise records with rushing touchdowns, he's going to be an affordable back. And this gives you a little bit extra reassurance with DeAndre Swift. If they're sold on him, if they're not sold on him, if they want to see another year where he stays healthy, the good news is DeAndre Swift is an X factor. He is a playmaker, and he's got another year left on his contract. He had a career high 5.5 yards per carry, and he also can catch the football. So with Jamal Williams having 17 rushing touchdowns on the year, DeAndre Swift having 5, I expect Jamal to be back for a reasonable price. Now, we talked a little bit about Jared Goff, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He had a phenomenal year. He had a rating of 99.3. He's a great leader for this football team. Now, they could use a backup QB, and we've talked a lot on this channel about drafting a possible replacement for Jared. I wouldn't be shocked if that went either way, because next year's quarterback draft class is very much loaded, just like this one. It's a little bit less top heavy, in my opinion, but I wouldn't be surprised either way if they went with a QB in the later parts of the draft or what have you. Now, looking at the receiving, tight ends, big. It's big, and I anticipate this Detroit Lions team to, you could go for the draft. You definitely could. Wouldn't be surprised if that happened. However, there are also a bunch of nice tight ends available on free agency. If you want to get like a stud, you got Evan Ingram out there, Mike Gesicki, Hayden Hurst, Foster Moreau, Dalton Schultz, Robert Tonyan. So the good news is the Detroit Lions, they have options. And I guess kind of the point of this is Detroit's right on schedule. I don't think that they're necessarily ahead of schedule. I think all of this was perfectly crafted. It was perfectly planned. And yeah, maybe the Lions won't win the Super Bowl next season, but they have a very good shot at winning the NFC North. They have a very real shot at being just contenders with a NFC North title or not. Wide receiver position, I want and expect DJ Chark to be back. This wide receiver free agency class could have been a lot different. If Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, Stephon Diggs, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, a lot of those guys signed extensions, but there are still some nice pieces out there. If you do in fact lose DJ Chark, or if you just want to make more moves at the wide receiver position, I really like Josh Reynolds this year. I really like Khalif Raymond. Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously, he's the big name. He's the star wide receiver on this team. He had 106 catches, 6 touchdowns, and almost 1,200 total receiving yards. And don't forget about former first-round pick Jameson Williams. He only actually ended with 1 catch. It was a 41-yard touchdown, but we saw plenty of flashes, and he's coming off a torn ACL. So I don't think the point really was this year. This was never going to be really a breakout year for him. Right? He was going to miss more than half of the season, which he did. Played the final 6 games for him, and don't forget about him, I guess is the point of that. So let me know what you guys are thinking about the Detroit Lions in free agency and in the draft. We have free agency that's like almost a month away, so things are going to start ramping up, and they're going to be ramping up quickly. Although the Super Bowl is this upcoming weekend, things are going to be moving fast, and I anticipate Detroit, they're going to be aggressive in it. So hit that like button, hit that sub button. Most importantly, let me know what you guys think down below. I'll put my Twitter down below in the comments section, but all my socials are in the bio. Peace.